Hello, my name is Bill Haley, and this is for Haley 2024 The Movement's Government Reform Ideas. Now, this video is going to be on the transportation sector. How is the transportation sector going to fit into the whole new proposed constitutional amendment to bring competitive governance? So if this is the first video you have watched, you might want to go back and look at some of the longer overviews. I'm going to do an overview, but it's going to be about 5 to 7 minutes, and then that helps you get the framework about where transportation is going to fit in. Then we'll go over specific additional clauses for the transportation. So this is now July of 2021. I've been doing these videos since I believe January of 2021. I really started this Constitution maybe middle of last year, so I'm a year into this now. I've been developing these ideas since roughly 2013. So this is a year-long endeavor for a new constitution for the United States. It replaces the state constitutions and actually it's a local constitution. One constitution with federal, state, and local aspects to it. Let's go through the full reform real quick, about 5 to 7 minutes, and then we'll touch on the specific transportation. But it's good to have an overview. And again, if this is one of the first ones, look back at the longer overviews. Each one of the points I'm touching on now, I speak significantly on in other videos. A lot of times half-hour to hour-long views or videos on that to show you my complete views on that. So the first thing you have to understand is that we separate all government power into 30 sectors with top-level elected leaders per sector. Only any one person can only be in charge of one sector at a time. You have to pick your legislative, executive, or judicial branch. You have to pick the local, state, or federal. You have to pick the CRA level, sector board level, or parent sector board level. There's a lot of separations, a lot of checks and balances, a lot of accountability within the system. We go almost everything free enterprise. However, there is significant societal oversight roles for anybody with inherent government power, such as police or the military. Again, look at all those videos. The more important switch we do, the best reform I have is competitive governance. As long as you can get 5% of your fellow citizens to join you, guys can have a private governing agency, a competitive governing agencies. They only govern their members. So you select a CRA with like-minded people. As long as you have 5%, you can join together and govern yourselves. Other people, they want to be governed a little bit differently. They join together and govern themselves. As long as you are governing up to a certain standard, you can be governed. And those are on the rating system side. They put rating floors on whether you're causing significant negative externalities. And not being governed within a certain area, such, let's say family law, is a area where you cannot, you have to make sure you're governed, or it creates negative externalities. Okay, these are full governmental systems. So anyway, a long story short, let's go over the Constitution a little bit more. A section called citizenship. We got general laws, bylaws or internal governance within organizations within the system. Federal, state, and local, how that's dealt with. Original authority, look at that. That's one of my more important sections. Supermajority, anything done by monopolized government has to be done with a 70% vote. We have a full system on that. Look at that and where the exceptions are and the like. The parent sector board, look at how that's structured. The CRA sector board, look at how that's structured. Look at those responsibilities. 90% of this Constitution is competitive regulatory agencies. That's 90% of what we're doing. Everything else is there to support the CRA. So that's highly important. Look at those videos and look everything's on my website, but look over the CRAs, and that's the most important aspect of what we're doing. That's where you get your representation. That's where you select, and that is where you get your governance. So let's keep on going. The rating system is highly important. It's going to give high quality information from a wide variety of perspectives. And it's going to create rating floors when there's significant negative externalities, so the standards don't get so low as to create problems for other people. Taxation, how do we go through the funding mechanisms? Look at that section. Debt, how do we go from a transition from the current system to this system? That's important to understand. Pockets of freedom, foreign policy and immigration in there. States partial acceptance per sector. That's important to try to get this thing passed. The separation of responsibilities and authorities into 30 sectors. Let's go over the 30 real quick, and we'll mention a few issues per sector. We get rid of government welfare altogether. We go to a charity system. A lot of good videos on that. The foreign protection system, all these are separated. So the top diplomat's not the same as the top commander-in-chief. Different responsibilities, different people. Creating a lot more accountability. The military authorization agency is a societal oversight role, making sure nothing goes wrong and getting rid of problematic people very rapidly. Violent crime mitigation system, we separate all this. All of it's going free enterprise, but with much better accountability than we currently have. It's not a free-for-all. Nothing's a free-for-all in the free market system. You cannot infringe on somebody else's rights. And the law enforcement authorization is the LEA is a societal oversight role, and it has to authorize anybody with inherent government power. So that's highly important. 5 more sectors here. I've done videos on all these. A very interesting monetary policy and banking sector. Food, education, manufacturing, human resources, and sales. And I've done videos on all that. This video is on, the next one down there. We did the video on identity, personal and business. We did environment. We did work safety. This one's on transportation. So highly important to understand where this falls into all the different things. Now, I'm going to be mostly talking about roads, but when we're talking about air travel or we're talking about rails or other ways of transportation, rivers and the like, same general philosophy and the constitutional principles will hold. So we might touch on a little bit of that, but let's keep on going. Media and communication, we did that, and my next video will be land and water, probably later in July of 2021. Okay, let's go. So it's important to understand what a competitive regulatory agency is. These are full governmental systems with legislative, executive, and judicial powers. They can do it all, but only for their members. They regulate, they govern, and they send representatives up to the monopolized sector board level for issues that need to have monopolized governance. And that's only when it creates a significant negative externality, when you're doing harm to other people outside the transactions or whatever you're doing. And these are city, state, and federal things. So it's important to concentrate on this and have a full understanding of what this is. This is the structure. Now, parent sector board does not, just because it's up top, does not mean it has the most power. All the power rests in the CRAs. They send representatives up to make the sector board. They send representatives up to make the parent sector board. And nobody can control a CRA unless there are significant negative externalities. And that is double checked by the Judicial Department in a couple different ways. You needed like a 70% majority to try to do that. So it can happen, but it has to have very strong oversight, accountability, strong support through the representatives of most CRAs because they see the negative externalities caused by some. So let's keep on going. But the rating system can take care of a lot of that by putting rating floors. So you have to understand the full system. But it's important to go back and look and reread and rewatch the videos surrounding these issues. Okay, Sector 28 is the transportation sector, and it is established. Establishment means it's given a set of governmental responsibilities and authorities. It gets a CRA sector board and all the CRAs. It gets a rating system and all the rating agencies. It's a big deal to be established. The purpose of it is to regulate transportation infrastructure, roads, canals, rivers, air travel, rails, and anything dealing with transportation. Maybe a few things that are thrown in there that are adjacent to that. We'll have to see. Okay. In my debt section, you do have this government roads and infrastructure will transition to the free enterprise system that's subject to the Section 12 standard transition. What this means is every government road, if it's owned by the government, now there are private roads out there, but most roads that people drive on are public roads, government-owned roads, unless you're in a private neighborhood or whatever. It's a government road. All those are going to be sold into the free enterprise system to road corporations. So we have a full transition on that. So understand that. And roads that were previously open to the public must be owned by the public corporation where citizens may buy stocks, share profits, and have voting rights. So roads have to, if it's a public road right now, it has to be a publicly traded corporation where citizens can buy stock. And obviously, if you buy stocks, you share in the profits and have voting rights. And the corporate proxy groups, the elections, all that's important to, in this realm that we went over in some of the other sectors, dealing with monetary policy, dealing with identity sector, and the like. The transportation sector rating system must create a rating floor regarding standard traffic laws, signage, among other issues relating to the proper management of road system. Okay, we don't want the silliness of saying, what if somebody wants to put a yellow stop sign instead of red? And another road says, we're going to put a green stop sign. And another one says that we're going to put our lights are going to be purple, violet, and mauve. I mean, obviously silly. We need some standardization. So the rating system will put some floors down there to make sure we have some standardizations. And a good corporation road owner is not going to want to have confusion out there. They're going to want to abide by the normal standards. And there might be some little bit of flexibility to try to get some improvement in there. But on the most part, the traffic laws have to be the same on all the roads. So that's not an issue. The Transportation Sector Board must create a standard anonymous transponder payment system, however, without control over prices. So the Sector Board is going to have the payment system. It's anonymous transponders. I don't have to say any more than that. The system can come up, but it has to be transponders. A little thing you put in the road, a little thing you put in your car. When you go over it, it knows that it went over a transponder, and it's going to take money from the car and give it to the one in the road. That can be done, and it can be done anonymous. There's a lot of ways I have. Look at that video to know how I can do that anonymously. Look how I have write-ups on that. It's not that hard. You can buy a temporary one at a gas station, and once it's used up, you replace it with another one. Nobody ever knows which car went over the transponder. The transponder doesn't have the capability of knowing what transponder went over it, and the car doesn't really concentrate. I mean, doesn't remember which transponder it went over. It just goes over it. The money transfers from one to the other. It can be done. I've thought of the ideas. I thought of most of the issues that might come up, and I don't see a big problem with, especially if the Constitution says it has to be anonymous. Now, if you want one that remembers what road that you went on to, you can have an app for that, and you can even keep it private. You can have it password protected and the like. You can clear it when you want to clear it, however you want to do it. But the system cannot hold the information about what car went over it. Now, if you have road theft, road services theft by not paying the tolls, not having a transponder, then they get to take pictures of the license plates and say, hey, you're stealing our road services. You're not using transponders like the way you're supposed to. So it has to be in the car. You're not allowed to buy gas unless the transponders has a certain amount of money on it that can be rolled over. And there'll be many ways to see if something went wrong. Hey, $20 came off this when it should have been 20 cents. There'll be ways to deal with that. Okay, let's keep on going. Roads that were previously open to the public must remain open to the public. So just because if you own a road, the public corporation owns a road. It's a private road, but it has to remain a public place. They don't get to say who can come on, who can't come on. It's a public road. But it's a privately owned. So we can have that stipulation. There's no problem with that. You cannot have we can't circle somebody's neighborhood and say nobody can go on that road from that neighborhood and you're all trapped in there. That's silly. Part of the Constitution is you have to have open spaces, public spaces, and there's more of that in the land and water. But roads, well, at least the ones that are public now, obviously, if you have there's a massive amount of private roads in America, and those can remain the same way they are right now. I'm talking about the main roads that people are driving over that are not private. Those have to remain publicly owned. Public spaces. Anybody can go on to it. Now, you have to have an ID, driver's license to go on it and the like, but as long as you are abiding by the traffic rules, you're allowed to go on there. So they cannot discriminate on who can go on their roads. That's not part of the agreement of owning a road. Part of the stipulation is it's a public space. Now, obviously, if there needs to be a repair, you can shut it down for a period of time, just like we do right now. All that can be taken care of. Okay, this one's not a clause. Just talking about this. This is mainly talking about roads, but all transportation such as navigable rivers, ports, airports, among others, will follow similar constitutional principles. Okay. This is in the Parent Sector Board section. The CRA Parent Sector Board must develop a mission statement for every sector. So it's going to incorporate it's going to give it a set of responsibilities. Is air travel in this? Yeah, it's going to be in this one. But there's going to be some in the gray area where you're going to say, hey, maybe that's land and water, maybe that's transportation, we don't know, maybe it's environmental. There are going to be some overlaps, but the Parent Sector Board defines the lines between the sectors and makes sure there's no overlap. Okay, pretty much done with this video. Got done kind of rapidly. Here's 15 sectors. Here's 15 more sectors. It's always important to come back to this. Now, how important are the CRAs? Yeah, they're private roads, but every private road still has to belong to a CRA to be governed. And then the CRAs send representatives up to the sector board. Now, the sector boards are going to do ID. No, they're not going to do ID. They're going to go to the ID company and say, this person is authorized to drive now. They pass the driver's test. But they don't do the ID. They just give their certification saying they passed the driver's test. They're allowed to drive. And there's this is going to be incorporated, and there's a lot of gray lines going from this sector to other sectors, so especially the environmental sector and the land and water sector. Those three are going to have to work together well, but it's important to have clear distinctions as well. So anyway, let's continue on. I'll do another video soon, and it is now the middle of July 2021. By the end of July, I should have all my constitutional videos done. I did several dozen of those, and it's been very interesting. It's been a year-long project since I've started this constitutional one. I started the ideas back in 2013 and been developing those, and in about the summer of 2020, I really I finalized a lot of my reforms, and then I put it into constitutional format, and that's what this is right now. So this is one of my last videos for that. So until the next video.